Welcome back, everyone, to the 2021 Bowling Promotion Tour, sponsored by Cubica AMF. And we are here for what could be the final match of this Masters Series. It's number 1 seed Daria Payouk against number 2 seed Carl Eklund. Carl coming off his win against Christopher Vialli by the score of 235 to 182. The powerful backup two-hander will now take on Daria Payouk, who averaged 226 across numerous locations in France and 32 games to take the number 1 seed position. And Daria has chosen to start on this left lane, and I believe Daria will be employing a 2-ball strategy here because the left lane hooks quite a bit more than the right lane. And Daria, of course, way deep, as we saw with Vialli and the other right-handers. And there's a beautiful shot. Rides the oil very nicely and give Daria the kickoff strike there. And of course, ladies, by international rule, get an 8-pin handicap. And we will track that 8-pin handicap as we go through the game to track who's actually ahead in the match. Here's our first look at Carl Eklund, and look at the oil track up on that purple hammer, and look at the revs this young man gets as a backup player, and the power at the pin deck is evidently there. He is only 16 years old, this young man, and what a future he has. Daria Payouk, of course, a PWBA touring pro, having spent time at Weber College in Florida. She was PWBA Rookie of the Year. And there's a double by Eklund, and we are off to the races here, folks. We could see some fireworks here by the 2 top players in this Masters stepladder. Bruce Hall here. I'm your international voice of these competitions, sponsored by my friend Bruno Bedone. And Bruno now taking signups for the 2022 Bowling Promotion Tour. I would highly encourage that. And there's a double by Daria. And we're perfect through 2. You can get all that info at bowlingpromotiontour.com. And beautiful shot there by Daria. Both bowlers 2 for 2 now. Once again, if Daria wins, it is over. She wins the title. If Carl wins, he forces a second game, which will then determine our champion. So obviously for Carl, it's a uphill battle here to take on this young lady who has shown to take no prisoners in this competition. And there's a little bit left off her hand, and there's a 4-pin. So instead of the normal 29 we would give her in the first, we'll give her 37 in the first. And that will account for her 8-pin handicap. And there's maybe just a tad slow on that drier lane, and it comes up for the 4-pin. Looks like an IQ Tour in her hand on that left lane. She'll stay with the strike ball for the 4-pin and hook the lane, and does. No problem on the spare. And Carl Eklund, of course, with the advantage of being the backup player, when he leaves corners on the left-hand side of the lane, he could use his regular straight ball or hook ball from the right side and make those left-hand spares. So really best of both worlds for Eklund. And there is a 7-pin, so we will get to see that philosophy in action right now as he shoots the 7-pin. It looks like a pretty good shot. It looks just a little bit late to the pocket, and we'll talk more about this, but he gets remarkable back end on that urethane. Most people using urethane cannot generate that kind of back end. Urethane is mostly used to control the lane. And there's the hook into the 7-pin that we talked about. And again, a perfect spare there for Eklund. So we are back to our original 8-pin gap between these players. They have the identical score, but again, Payouk with the 8-pin handicap by international rule. Here's Eklund on the left lane. And Might have got that one in a little bit, but it certainly stayed there. Typically, the drier lane on one side, which in this case is the left lane for the righties, is the tighter lane for the lefties, because often that's lane topography that's accounting for that. Of course, there's lots of factors in how dry or wet lanes are, including what type of oil's being used, obviously who's bowled on it, even the air currents within the bowling center can have an impact on how that oil breaks down over time. TV lights, of course, can dry out the oil and change things quickly. And here's Daria with that more aggressive ball. That's a reality. The right lane gets that to the right. Boy, she got that right, and it really read the dry hard and came up for the 4-pin. I thought that might even come up light, but watch this bounce. It turns very hard in the mid lane. There's been a lot of traffic in there from a number of different players playing in there, like Quentin DeRue, Chris Viali, and some other folks who have tracked up the middle of that lane. And now Payak once again with the strike ball for the spare shot. Shooting the 4-pin. And no problem there. So both bowlers clean through 4 frames. And Daria enjoying the 7-pin lead. However, Eklund, now on a strike, can get up and take the lead on his next shot. Been my pleasure to bring you these matches in English. We would call the international or the U.S. version, if you will. And great fun to watch this fantastic European talent. And there's a mixer strike by Daria Payoke, back on the strike train, as it were, after a couple of 4-pins. She probably made a move left with her feet there to try to get the ball a little further down the lane and don't leave the 4-pin. So let's see what happens in her next shot. And now, can Eklund take the lead? A strike here would give him a 3-pin lead. Looking strong. Perfect pocket strike by Eklund. Boy, his strikes are really just no doubt. And that's right between the second and third arrow. And right through the pocket. And look at the back end that this young man generates, even with urethane. Could you imagine what he could do with a reactive resin ball in terms of back end if he had a little more saving energy and a little more flip? This is why a lot of bowlers go to urethane, because these reactive balls are just too strong and they overreact too much for these patterns. And once again got that one substantially out, gets the high hit, but the messenger comes spinning back across the deck to take out the 8-pin. Yeah, baby, there's a huge break for Eklund, and takes his 3-pin lead and turns it into 13. So Carl Eklund cruising in this match with just one weak 7-pin and 6 frames and the rest strikes. Really is putting the pressure on Payoke right here. Yeah, that's got to lay off. No, that right lane is not behaving as she's expecting. She's had 2 shots go high, one for the 4-pin and now for the 3-6-10. She hits her mark. It's a beautiful shot. It just reads at that about that 45-foot mark, just picks up on that friction and makes a left turn. So she'll have to move on this lane as well. Now we try to go hard and straight with the spare ball. And oh, there's a bad break on the chop for the 3-6-10 for Payoke. Most pros will tell you when they shoot that spare, they go right at the 3-pin and hope they make it. And unfortunately, she was too heavy on the 3-pin and gets the chop. So now, all of a sudden, a 45-pin lead for Eklund. And good comeback there by Daria. Strikes on the left lane, and no drama on that one. We'll take the strike. And you can see the back end perfectly behaving, the ball going through the pins exactly the right way there. 4 frames left for Eklund. 244 maximum for Payoke. And 279 still in the wood for Carl Eklund. So Eklund clearly in the driver's seat here with another beautiful strike, and just they all look the same, just perfect driving through that 1-2 pocket. This young man, once again, just 16 years old. What a future he has. And how about one more? Beautiful shot there. And this 279 is still in the wood for Eklund through 8 frames. And he is cruising along in the 240s already, so he really just needs marks at this point. That's if Daria strikes out. And unfortunately, she goes through the beak for 8, putting her in quite a hole at this point. And there's the 3-6 variant on the 3-6-10. She did move, got the ball deeper in the oil, but it's still red in that mid lane. And unfortunately now is looking at a maximum of 224. And Eklund already in the 220s, perhaps in the 9th frame. So Eklund, I believe, would just need 1 mark in his next 2 frames, even if Daria were to strike out. And a light hit there for Daria. That's been working for her this game. So give her the 224 possible. And once again, we add 8 to that score. And now Eklund really just needs marks here. And there's a 6-pin. Pretty easy spare. In fact, he would need to miss this and then only need 8 on 2 balls to win the match against Daria. So I believe we're going to have a second game here, folks. So if you hit subscribe, you'll be able to see that second game on this YouTube channel. Once again, shout out to Bruno Bedone and his coordination of these matches. If you're interested in the 2022 Bowling Promotion Tour, check out bowlingpromotiontour.com and perhaps send a note to Bruno and say you're interested. It's a wonderful experience. You get to tour France. It's usually the last 2 weeks in September, and a wonderful time for folks being able to participate in this Bowling Promotion Tour. And with the spare and then the strike, that will do it. We will definitely have a second game here, which we will bring to you on this YouTube channel. It will be published in a few days, and my friend Bruno will have that out, and then we'll be able to watch it, and then you'll also have the English call on that by yours truly. And it is, again, my privilege to be the international voice of this competition. And there it was way out, but look at that one come back. And a beautiful second strike there by Eklund. You can see the dry boards that he's got to work with to the left. And he still gets the ball to go through the pocket exactly the right way. And looks like a ball change maybe. Gets that to 58 for Carl Eklund. He came to play. Wonderful game there. Daria unable to keep up. And Daria will close things out here. She's wondering which ball. She had the IQ Tour. And she's like, what else should we try? Oh, here we go. Here's something different. She wasn't going to go with the reality again on that lane. So she now has what looks like could be a Zen. It's definitely a less aggressive ball than the reality, because the reality is the most aggressive ball in the global 900 line. And so let's see what she does with this. And she's trying to make the move with her feet and get herself lined up. And it's a little bit straighter, but still the same hook through the middle that she got. So her problem is not necessarily the surface, it's getting inside of that hook spot in the mid lane. And she's just watching that ball read incredibly hard no matter where she throws it, it seems, or what she throws. She's picking up on that mid line too early on that lane. She better make that adjustment quickly. And there's a beautiful cover of the 3, 6, 9, 10. And that will put Daria with her handicap in the 2-0 range. And Daria saying, okay, what do I try next? Let's try something else. So back to the reality. Let's see how far left she goes. And I would think this ball is going to be very, very deep in the lane. Yes, it is. Look at that. Very deep. Around 5th arrow. And that one hangs on for the 4-9. She says, oh, I might have found something for this next match. So 204 with handicap for Daria Payouk. Folks, we will see you right back here on this YouTube channel for the final match coming up. Take care, everyone.